Thank you all so much for coming out to our community meeting for our first day of Local Foods, Local Places. When I submitted the application for a resource team from Local Foods, Local Places to visit downtown, I was intrigued with the idea of how food can make our community healthier, how food can be an economic development and downtown revitalization tool for our area. So we were one of 21 communities selected to participate in Local Foods, Local Places this year. And so the resource team has been here since noon, and we've been all over the place. So I want to introduce Mike Callahan with Renaissance Planning, who is sort of the lead person on our resource team. He's going to introduce all of his team members.
Great. Thank you very much. And thank you all for being here tonight. My name is Mike Callahan. We're just going to do a few introductions of the technical assistance team that's here working with Henderson over the next day and a half. I am from Charlottesville, Virginia. That's where I live. I work with Renaissance Planning. You're a Cavs fan? Okay. He was clapping. But we are a consulting firm, an urban planning firm, and we are contractors to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, leading these local foods, local places workshops all around the country. I'm actually a native of Raleigh. I've done 45 of these all around the country and never been this close to home. I am a proud Tar Heel, so sorry to Wolfpack and Devils fans in the room. But no, really happy to be here. We're going to have a presentation that's going to explain more about why we're here and what we're doing, so I won't go into that right now. But I do want to introduce the team that's here with me to lead the workshop over the next day and a half. So, Mia, would you like to go first?
Hi everyone, my name is Mia Candy. So I'm also with Renaissance, but I'm based in the Durham, North Carolina office. So it's nice to be somewhere close to home. I'm going to be helping with facilitation this evening and tomorrow. I'll present a couple of slides, but in general, if you have questions, if there's anything that you kind of really think is important for me to write down and capture, just come over, we can chat. I look forward to this meeting.
Vlad?
Hi everyone, I'm Vlad Gavrilovic. I'm a principal of Renaissance Planning. I work with Mike in Charlottesville, and I'm kind of the hired gun for design, or the hired marker. So I will be here in the corner along with my colleague Ron, and we'll be working on design drawings and trying to put some visuals to the types of things that you all come up with both tonight and tomorrow. So the less I talk, the more I get to draw.
Hi everybody, my name is Ron Batcher from the USDA. I'm here from DC. I'm in the agricultural marketing service, and specifically I deal with wholesale market and facility design. So that's why I'm here with Vlad to help with design services. So I'm happy to hear all of your concerns, questions, and ideas for the future.
And Melissa?
I'm Melissa Kramer. I'm with EPA's Office of Sustainable Communities out of headquarters in Washington, D.C. And on behalf of all the federal agencies, we manage the Local Foods, Local Places program. And I want to recognize those other federal sponsors. We have USDA Rural Development. We have someone here in the room. Brian, you want to say?
Sure. Good evening. I'm Brian Queen. I work with USDA Rural Development out of Raleigh office. And as many of you know, we do have area offices throughout the state. And we focus anything from single-family housing all the way up to water and sewer infrastructure, and to include some local food programs through our value-added producer grant, et cetera, that we do have had the opportunity to work with Rocky Mount, City of Graham with these workshops. So we are very much looking forward to working with Henderson and going forward. Thank you.
And also USDA Ag Marketing Service, where Ron is from, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Department of Housing and Urban Development, Department of Transportation, and also the Appalachian Regional Commission and Delta Regional Authority support communities that are in their service areas. So we've all come together to help communities that are looking for these local foods, help revitalize their downtowns. I think it was probably back in October, Carolyn, was it, when we were first speaking about the application, going through an interview, and we were just really impressed with all that has happened here in Henderson and wanted to be part of helping create a future. So thank you, Carolyn, for inviting us here, and we're looking forward to working with you over the next couple of days.
Right. Thank you. And the mayor has joined us. Would you like to say a few words?
I was not prepared to speak, but you always have to be ready when the meeting comes. But thank you guys, all of you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here tonight, and I'm glad for this turnout, and appreciate you guys being here as well. And I'm excited and learn a little bit just like you, just like y'all can do. So thanks for being here. Appreciate it very much. Thank all of you.
And we had a few folks that helped us prepare for this event, including Carolyn and Corey, Henry, and artists. If you were involved, could you just stand up or raise your hand? I'd like to acknowledge everyone. We had a few others. Very good. So, I'm going to try to be as quick as I can with the presentation here. I don't want this to be all about me talking. However, I think it's important to set the stage for the work tonight. What we're here mostly to do is hear from you. That's the most important thing. Even though this is technical assistance, it's sponsored by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and USDA and the other agencies Melissa mentioned. This is not top-down by any means. This is bottom-up. We're working with communities that have asked for assistance, and we're here to help, but we really are here to have your ideas kind of bubble up and hear from you. And so we're going to have some exercises I think you'll find kind of fun. I think they're fun. Later on in the program, and we will have you out of here by 7:30. I appreciate you being here and want to be respectful of your time. I'm going to try to find a good spot. A little agenda here. First day, we took a community tour. We got here around noon. We went all over, and I'll have a few pictures, some observations to share from that. We've been all around the city today. This is our first session of the workshop, and it's really all about where does this community want to be in the future. We want to hear from you. With a focus on food and using food as a way to build community and build up your downtown area. Tomorrow is about what needs to happen. We'll explore different options, different strategies, different things you can do. And in the afternoon, we're going to talk about how to make it happen. Ultimately, what we're preparing for Henderson is an action plan. We're planners. We're going to prepare a plan, and there's going to be a design component to that we'll describe in just a moment. This is not our first time. All these communities are places we've done local foods, local places. I don't know the exact number at this point. It's got to be up near 100. We've been in North Carolina, Graham this year. We were also in Martinsville, Virginia recently, which is not too far away. But this is one of several technical assistance programs that EPA has where they work in a community for kind of a short period of time and help bring together people to create an action plan around whatever the topic happens to be. I won't linger on this slide because Melissa mentioned the agencies already that support this program. And we have, of course, EPA and USDA here with us today. There's a lot of reasons EPA and the other federal partners are interested in food and using food to create really great, vibrant places. And several of those are listed here on this slide. It's about increasing economic opportunities in the community, improving health, and we've heard that health is a big challenge here. In fact, some of the data that was submitted to us before the workshop showed that Vance County is number 96 out of 100 North Carolina counties in health outcomes. And so there's a big challenge with health here, and food, healthy food can be a part of that. It supports vibrant town centers. Food is something that brings people together, it brings people in. Farmers markets are things that bring people in, and we'll talk about those today. Community gardens are things that bring people together and bring people in. So all of those strategies can support vibrant town centers, and that also preserves working lands, a lot of agriculture in this part of the state. And by having a strong demand for local fruits, local vegetables, meats, you can help preserve that farmland that's so important to the economy. The agencies that have come together to sponsor this workshop and this program, there's 3 outcomes that they desire, and they're looking to work with communities that are trying to achieve these things. So the first is economic opportunities for local farmers and businesses. The second is access to healthy local food, especially among disadvantaged groups. And then the third is revitalize downtowns, revitalize main streets and existing neighborhoods. At the end of the day, again, it's going to be an action plan we're going to prepare. This isn't going to be some huge pie-in-the-sky thing. It's going to be short-term, doable, feasible things that Henderson and the folks in this room can do in the next couple of years to start to do some of these things. And then also new connections. We hope that through the course of the workshop, people are interacting, sharing ideas, and that we can help create a few new connections here. Melissa, do you want to mention the survey now?
Sure. I hope everybody signed in on the sign-in sheets and was made their email address very legible. I'll be using those afterwards to send everybody a survey, just to ask what you thought of tonight, how you liked it. It helps us continually improve these workshops, because as Mike said, we do go around the country and do these all over, and we hope we'll have another round of local foods, local places. So we're definitely interested in hearing your opinions, so we can learn from what you thought of tonight. So look for that late this week.
Great. So I've already mentioned a little bit about the main outcomes and action plan. Before we even arrive today, we've spent a lot of time talking with the folks here that helped organize the event about what they hope to achieve through this Local Foods, Local Places workshop and through this action plan. And we've tried to articulate that in some words. First of all, kind of an overarching goal or a vision for what we're trying to achieve here is using food to build community. Really to strengthen community and to strengthen this place. And it's access to healthy local foods, supporting a healthy downtown, healthy people, and also new jobs. Because we heard the economy is also a big challenge and something that folks wanted to focus on here. So we created 4 goals, which we're going to focus on throughout the course of the workshop. And these can change. We're not, we don't want to put words in your mouth. These are things we've worked with local people to create. And they're definitely changeable based on what we hear tonight and tomorrow. But the first is design a thriving place. Create a vision for the site of the downtown farmers market in Embassy Square. So this is really important. There's a part of this that's where we're focused on kind of policy and things the city can do. But we're also focused on this place right out this window. I love this room because we can actually just look and say that's where we're focused during this workshop. So this place, which I've heard called a couple of different things, but most often Embassy Square, includes the library, the McGregor Performing Arts Center, the police station, and then a pretty large piece of land over here, for which there have been some ideas, but there's not yet kind of a solid vision of what it could be. Municipal building is one of the ideas that would kind of mirror the police station there. But there's also a hope in the long term to maybe have a farmer's market pavilion, a stage, maybe some features that would make it a really great civic space for the downtown, for Henderson, and for the community. And so we want to use the workshop to explore a bit about what that can be, what you all think it can be, what you'd like to see it be. And that's what our designers are over there working on. The second thing is sustaining a thriving market. So really helping Henderson create a strategy for having a successful downtown market. You have a successful regional market, and certainly this project is not about undermining that in any way. That serves a purpose, and it's doing well, and it's just getting started. And it serves a very wide catchment area. But there's also some potential here, people think, to have a downtown version, smaller, that would serve folks that live in this area who might not be able to drive out to that farmer's market, provide local products that they want to see, and could be a magnet to bring people in and get people out walking and talking. Third is connect people to downtown. So this is really about helping to make the area more walkable, strengthen the connections between different parts of the city, make it feel safe and comfortable on the streets. What are some of the things that can be done there? And then the fourth is using food to build community. So we heard a lot of ideas about what else is needed downtown and what could happen here. And some of the ideas that came up were a grocery store, a community kitchen, and I'll talk about these things a little more in just a moment, and maybe community gardens as well in the downtown area. So this is kind of where we're at right now, where we're focused. And again, it could change a little based on what we hear tonight. So as I said, we've been all over the country. I think I've been to 27 states now doing this kind of work. It's a lot of fun. We have a lot of stories. I won't tell the craziest ones. I'll just tell the inspiring ones here tonight. But there's many, and we've seen a few here in Henderson as well, that I really do want to highlight. Some very good things happening here. And what I want to do with these stories from the road is illustrate those 3 points, the 3 main outcomes of this program, the things that the agencies that sponsored are hoping to help communities achieve. Again, economic opportunities, access to healthy foods, and revitalized community centers. So, a few stories. When we say access to healthy local food, what have we seen? What success stories have we seen out there? We've seen great examples of community gardens and how those can be a tool for building community. This is Williamson, West Virginia. This was a large vacant property, probably a couple acres, hemmed in between a railroad track and some housing on the other side of their main street. This here is subsidized housing, and there's a lot of people with disabilities that live there, especially minors. This is coal country. And this was just kind of an eyesore lot, nothing happening here. And a few folks in the community came together, and they got some grants, and they got some donations of materials, and they built 24 raised beds and 3 little hoop houses. These are like little greenhouses. And they created a community garden. And one reason I love this example so much is that there were a couple guys here that were disabled former coal miners, and they were there the day we were touring it, and they said, this has just been like the best thing that could have happened to us. We get out, get exercise. I've met a lot of people in the neighborhood I didn't know before. And so this is one example of how you can use food to build community. We're already seeing great examples here with some of the urban farms and community gardens that already exist in Henderson on city-owned property. Farmers markets are another great way to provide access to healthy and local foods. This is Lynchburg, Virginia. And the reason I showed this is that it's a really nice example of a pavilion in a downtown area that has a lot of different purposes. So we know you have a farmer's market with a pretty big structure out near the highway. So doing that again downtown wouldn't make probably a whole lot of sense. Whatever would go down here, you'd probably, I don't want to assume too much, you'd probably want to serve a lot of purposes. Music or arts and crafts, picnics, whatever it might be. But this is just a good example of a great multi-purpose public space that has really been an anchor of revitalization in downtown Lynchburg. If you've been down there recently, there's a lot of new housing going in. They've built some new great public spaces along the river, park spaces and trails, and just a whole lot of good stuff going on. But this was really an impetus for a lot of what's happening down there. It can mean grocery stores. It can, in this example, which is a place called the Wild Grant Market in Huntington, West Virginia. This was a farmer's market that it evolved over time into a grocery co-op. So they got a lot of volunteers and they got a lot of local producers together to open this grocery store in what was a food desert, which is a term to describe a place where there just isn't a lot of healthy food around. And this, I think you have to grow or produce from within about 250 miles of Huntington to sell here. So they pull from Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and sell food in this former food desert through this co-op. And we also, through Local Foods, Local Places, worked in Itavenia, Mississippi to help them create a grocery co-op. They lost their only grocery store, and the nearest one was 10 miles away in Greenwood, Mississippi. And so through Local Foods, Local Places, they talked about what it would take to get a local cooperative grocery store downtown. So I think that's kind of a neat story too. As far as economic opportunity, some of the things we've seen in our travels or in our research that we've found interesting and successful include Appalachian Harvest Food Hub. This is an organization. A food hub is essentially an entity, like a business entity or a nonprofit that takes food grown by a lot of local producers and aggregates it, and then might do some processing or packaging, and then can sell it out to grocery stores, restaurants, and other consumers in a market. So this is a great one because it's in far southwest Virginia where there was a lot of tobacco farmers that transitioned into doing vegetables and fruits, and they could sell through this food hub to grocery chains across southwest Virginia. I think it does over $1 million in business a year, and it supports 125 jobs. So really good success story. It can include urban farms, and we've seen great urban farms. Artis and Henry have one that we toured today, a really wonderful facility there near downtown. But this is one we saw, and I'm probably going to put your picture here, if that's okay in the future. But this is one we saw in Youngstown, Ohio, a couple years ago, and it was run by the Youngstown Neighborhood Development Commission, or Coalition. And anyway, they had a vacant lot, and they used it to create an urban farm. And a lot of these urban farms have a training component, so young people in the city come and learn how to grow vegetables, and they may sell at markets in the city. But this is just a neat way to reuse a lot of vacant property in that particular city. And there's a lot of vacant property in this city as well that can be put to a similar use. Another example of creating economic opportunity is an incubator kitchen. This is also from Youngstown, Ohio. They had a nonprofit organization called Commonwealth that had a space near their downtown area that was a community kitchen, and it was open to anyone who was willing to pay to rent the space and met certain requirements. But basically, a lot of people have an idea for a food business or a food product, but you just can't make it in your kitchen, right? Because if your kitchen's like my kitchen, a lot of the times it's not exactly as clean as it probably should be, and so you need to be in a certified kitchen to create something to sell commercially. So anyway, they take care of that for you. This is a kitchen where you can go take your recipe, start your business, and then you can rent this space and then sell it at the farmer's market or to grocery stores. But this was a really cool example of that. In fact, when I was in there was a doctor from the hospital, and she had a recipe for a I can't even remember what it was now. It was like a trail mix or something. But she was in there making it, and she packaged it up, and she was selling it. But a lot of people were using this space. So those are examples of food. There's also a lot of other strategies you can use to bring energy and people and investment back into your downtown area. And so I just tell a few more stories from the road about that. So this is Pikeville, Tennessee. This is near Chattanooga, and this used to be the state highway. It was like a NASCAR track. People were flying through here, 4 lanes, and they built a bypass. Tennessee DOT built a bypass to the west. And then the city said, let's just reimagine this street. It doesn't need to be a speedway anymore. So they brought it down to 2 lanes, and they added a bunch of on-street parking to support the businesses. They added all this nice, these trees, these plantings. A lot of downtowns, you'll see this huge overhead lighting to illuminate the road. Well, they got in some kind of smaller scale lighting that is more kind of human scale and that illuminates the sidewalk. And bottom line with all this is they've seen a lot of new business come in and a lot of interest in the community because it's near Chattanooga, but now it's got this really attractive downtown that's very walkable and very business friendly and supportive of business. They also built a farmer's market. It's right here, you can't see it. But they built a pavilion for the farmer's market. They moved it downtown as another way to attract people in, to draw interest and energy into the downtown. This is New Albany, Mississippi. I really like this story as well. This is an old railroad right away here where these people are walking. It used to have, the train used to terminate here in New Albany. And years ago it stopped running. And so they built this 44-mile rail trail from Houston, Mississippi up to New Albany, Mississippi. We actually got to ride over there. It's one of the many perks of all this travel, seeing these cool places. But these were abandoned buildings. And then they put this trail in, and this became like a little restaurant, and this became an outdoor equipment store. And so this investment brought people into the town, biking and walking. In fact, when we were here, there was a man camping with his bicycle from Ottawa, Ontario, who just goes around and rides these long-distance trails as his vacation. So these things bring people in, they bring investment. And I just dropped this in, and this is kind of silly, but I saw this when I was in New Mexico a few weeks ago for a similar workshop. And there's a town there, Trinidad, that started a program. I didn't get this from Trinidad. The folks in New Mexico told me about it, and I stopped by to take a look. But businesses can basically ask the city to take control of the on-street parking in front of their business, and then put in front like a little deck, so they can have outdoor dining. They can kind of reclaim that space. A lot of businesses are concerned about losing parking in front of their business, but some businesses say, hey, we want to have a nice spot here. There's plenty of parking downtown Trinidad, so why not use this one right in front of us for a nice little outdoor space where people can eat dinner. I thought that was kind of neat. So, those are some stories from the road. And at the end, there'll be plenty of time for questions and comments. But I just want to walk through quickly a few of what I call the proof points about why this topic is important. And then also, I'm going to share the stage here with Vlad to share a few examples of farmers markets downtown and multi-purpose pavilions and facilities similar to what could happen over here in the future, to give you some ideas. So, I've spent a lot of time now talking about food and local food in particular without even offering a definition. So, you know, we're really just talking about things that are produced, processed, and distributed within a particular geographic boundary that people associate with their own community. So it might be Vance County, or it might be the broader region here, but you kind of know it when you see it. You know what we're talking about. It's things that are nearby produced and then sold. There's a lot of our food is brought to us by these huge kind of global supply chains, things brought on airplanes and boats and trains from very long distances, with really complex systems of distribution, getting things from farmers to consumers. And so when we talk about a local food system, we're kind of talking about the same thing, but shrunk down to a local scale. So you still need those people that connect growers with consumers, people that are eating the food. And so there's things like farmers markets, there's also things like community kitchens or food hubs that I've already described, but these are kind of the key ways that you connect locally grown food with local consumers. Why is this important? This is a really important slide, I think. This was from a study that was conducted a long time ago, 10 years ago or so, but it's still very relevant. So this study found that when you spend $100 at a local business, $68 stays in the community. And local businesses tend to contract locally, get supplies locally. But at a non-local business, $43 stays in the community. So this idea that shop local recycles more money in your community, which I think is pretty widely accepted. Local food systems are growing rapidly, so this is a trend that has not, it's maybe slowed a little bit, but it hasn't stopped. It's still a growing trend that people are very interested in where their things are coming from. And it's not just food, it's everything these days. But with food, we've seen explosive growth in farmers markets. The far left is 2000, the far right is 2014. So 2,800 to 8,300 farmers markets in that time frame nationally. We've also seen food hubs quadruple. We've seen farm-to-school programs come into existence, and those are programs that kind of connect farmers with local cafeterias and local schools. So there's a lot more locally grown stuff getting into our food system. There's a lot of reasons for this. Every year chefs are surveyed, and this is getting a little dated now, but in 2015, local is like all the top 5 had some connection to local. So people are seeing increased interest and demand in this. Consumers at grocery stores are also demanding it. They believe that locally grown products help the local economy. They're fresher, they're better, and healthier. But all that said, this is kind of the reality check slide, because this dark green is all of the food that really isn't local, sold from local producers to local consumers. It's about 99% of our food. And so there's a lot of room maybe to grow that pie, but right now, even with the growing interest, it's still pretty limited. Some of the popular strategies, I've already touched on some of these through the stories from the road, but ones that are especially standing out here in Henderson as ones that you might want to pursue, at least the ones we've heard so far, are community gardens, a farmer's market downtown, also a local grocery, and a mobile market. You know, mobile market is basically a farmer's market that goes around to different neighborhoods. It could be a truck or a trailer. These are some really popular strategies that we see communities are using to connect locally grown food to local people. So why is there a growing interest in local things in general, but especially local food? These are some of the points I like to make to just drive home the importance of this. You know, we definitely have a health crisis in the United States and in North Carolina, in Virginia too, in Vance County. It's everywhere, with obesity, diabetes, heart disease all being major problems. This is the scariest stat I've come across in years, that adolescent obesity quadrupled between 1980 and 2012 from 5 to 21%. So we really have a big problem on our hands. The cost of this is about $150 billion a year, and that's a dated statistic at this point. It's probably far higher. So food is a key factor, and getting more kind of healthy foods in people's hands is one factor, but also people need places to walk, to recreate, to bike, to be active. So that's another thing to consider in how to address this health crisis. Environmental concerns, people are concerned about energy use and food. The U.S. food system accounts for about 16% of our energy use in the United States. It's a huge number. Also, people worry about losing farmland and about the use of pesticides and chemicals. And then, finally, there's big economic concerns that make this all very important. We've seen decline in traditional downtowns and main streets. You know, what you see in Henderson is by no means unique. We see a lot of vacancy everywhere you go in downtowns. This is actually North Carolina. This is Forest City, west of Charlotte. But one thing, this is a really important point, I think. When you come into Henderson, Vlad made the comment today. We were coming up as a 39 from US 1, and he said, everywhere I go, I take this picture. You know, this corridor, this exists everywhere. But this doesn't exist everywhere. Downtown Henderson is unique. It's not, you don't see it anywhere else. Every time you get to a community's heart, its soul, its downtown, you're in a special place. Even if it's struggling and there's vacancy, it's still the place that really is your special place that makes you unique and different. Is what that part of your community is like. A lot of benefits. We could go on and on about these, but a couple quick ones I want to share. Better access to supermarkets corresponds to healthier food. Where we're standing right now, we're in what we call a food desert. It isn't easy to get to a supermarket with a wide range of foods here if you lack access to a vehicle. There is a grocery store not too far away, but there is a very high percentage of people in the neighborhood here that do not have access to a vehicle for a number of reasons. And there was a study that showed for every additional supermarket in a census tract, that's just a census term to describe a place, produce consumption increases 32% for African Americans and 11% for whites. And so giving people options improves health, improves healthy eating. When people don't have as many options, less healthy foods tend to be part of the diet. Also, these things we've been talking about, farmers markets, community gardens, they are magnets for people. They really are when they're successful. And so in New Albany, Mississippi, this was a community that had a really struggling farmers market a few miles outside of downtown, and they moved it downtown on the river, right at the edge of their main street, and the merchants were surveyed before and after. It was a really smart thing to do. and they found a 25% increase in sales for those downtown merchants during the farmers market on the second Saturday of the month, when they also had some music as part of the market. And so this just goes to show that if you do things to bring people in, they will then go and shop, and they will spend their money at other businesses that are in the area. So I'm going to hand over to Mia for just a minute to talk about some of the observations we've had on Henderson so far.
Hi everyone, so if you arrived a little late, my name is Mia Candy and I am here with Renaissance Planning on behalf of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. And we've been working with the Local Foods, Local Places Steering Committee for the last few months. We've been kind of having regular conference calls to hear about the community, to try and get a sense of what the story is here. And then today, of course, we spent about 3 hours touring downtown and the surrounding neighborhoods to try and understand, like, who is Henderson? One of the things that we do in order to create some context for the work that we're going to do is we put together a very brief data profile. This is all census information, and this is kind of the real hard statistics behind the story. I'm sure a lot of this will look very familiar to you. So this is just basic demographic information for the city of Henderson. So essentially the story that you're seeing here is that the median household income in Henderson is around $23,000 compared to around $46,000 in North Carolina overall. And you see a similar trend with residents receiving SNAP benefits. So 34% of Henderson residents receiving SNAP benefits and 17% of North Carolina residents. And then about 69% of students in the county overall are eligible for free lunch. So that's low income, impoverished students. And in terms of health, Mike mentioned a couple of these things, but just to look at the stats for your city, essentially the city of Henderson is lagging behind the county overall when it comes to health statistics. So 38% of the adult population suffers from obesity compared to 30% at the state level, and 17% of adults have diabetes compared to 11% at the state. And then the rate of heart disease is about 259 per 100,000, which is also higher than at the state level. So in terms of income, lower than the state. In terms of health, also lower than the state. And then the last piece of bad news, I suppose, is that a lot of Henderson suffers from food insecurity. And there's three pieces to this. So this means neighborhoods or blocks that are both low income and have low supermarket access and have low vehicle access, which is what Mike was talking about. So folks that can't afford to or aren't able to drive out to the supermarkets.
What determines the low access to the grocery stores? How far a distance, like if somebody was walking?
Yeah, so there's I think 3 or 4 different definitions from the USDA. I believe that this, I just made it general because there's, I think, 1 mile in an urban area, and there's also half mile in an urban area walking, or just a walking distance. And I believe that most Henderson neighborhoods fall into both those categories. So most people are living with outside of a half mile radius of the supermarket. And then there's a lot going on too, and there's a lot of amazing opportunities, including all the local agricultural opportunities that there are in the county. So just so you know, this is from the 2007 agricultural census, and there's a new one happening this year. So these might be a little outdated, and also it's self-reported, so there's probably more happening than what you're seeing here. But overall, 246 farms in the county, and then we see how many of those are vegetable farms, fruit tree and nut farms, and then kind of something to pay attention to is farms with direct sales, because this is an asset if you're talking about a local food economy and people being able to access healthy foods. These are the farms that are selling direct to consumers. And then we talk a lot about how much demand there is for groceries and fresh fruit and vegetables, because this is really the market that's going to be captured by anyone who wants to sell fresh local food. So you see that there's almost 17 million spent on food at home in Henderson, North Carolina every year.
Is that all?
Is that all? Less than expected. And then we kind of like to point out that of that, there's about $3 million being spent on fruits and vegetables that are consumed at home. So that's essentially people are going to go to a farmer's market, purchase fruits and vegetables, and then take them home to be consumed. And the same goes for a mobile market or a downtown market.
So yeah, I think that's a good note to to end those statistics on, because there is a lot of opportunity here. There's definitely challenges, we see that everywhere, but there is a lot of opportunity. If you think about the local food market being so small, and yet you've got, you know, $20 million or so being spent on food, there's definitely a market there, there's potential to grow it, local foods market. Just quickly, because I have to give Vlad the stage for a minute to talk about some examples, but we've seen a lot of opportunities, a lot of challenges here. There's about 8,000 residents within 1 mile of downtown Henderson, so that's a good number of people that are walking distance. There's 1,500 workers downtown. You still have the county. You have variety wholesalers and some other businesses that are fairly significant. You have the Downtown Development Commission, and that is the applicant for this technical assistance, and they're doing a lot with grants and loans and assistance to help businesses and to help people improve their facades and their buildings and renovate their buildings. You have a couple of new senior housing centers, so not new, but relatively new senior housing downtown. That's great, because a lot of seniors, as they age, they lose the ability to drive, and they're already right here at the heart of the community. And it's also people that live down here and spend their, in that shop down here and are out contributing to the vitality of the place. There's also everything that's happening here at Embassy Square, from the new 1,000-seat Performing Arts Center to this library and the police station. And then finally, there's a lot of city-owned property. I think actually between city and county we learned there's about 400 properties actually, not 200, with about half being just vacant lots and half being vacant homes. There's a potential here to do something with those properties other than the current condition. In terms of challenges, we already heard about health. There's definitely a big challenge there, and with poverty as well. Hopefully food can be a solution on these, part of the solution at least, in terms of helping people afford and learn how to use healthier foods, but also create jobs with food and use food as a tool for economic development. The coordination between the regional market and the downtown pop-up market will be a challenge. You certainly don't want one distracting from the other or pulling customers away. They can hopefully both really support the city and the county's goals. And then blight in some areas is contributing to concerns about safety and investment worthiness of the downtown. We heard that. And then finally, I think this last point is most important. Partners that want to support the city's efforts but need for better coordination and overarching vision. I get asked all the time, you've been to a lot of communities and you've seen success and you've also seen struggle. And what is the difference? And a lot of people want to know, like, what's the silver bullet policy or the silver bullet investment we can make, or what's the big industry to go after? But time and time and time again, it's people. And we find that people are what really make the difference. When we have communities with strong leadership and people that are rowing in the same direction around a shared vision or shared goals, they have success. And when that's not the case, it's a lot harder to have success. And so I'm hoping over this day and a half we can build some excitement and energy to kind of get people together and working together in the same direction, because ultimately that's what it's going to take. And also, another point here is that it's not just government that's going to kind of solve all of these problems. I think that's the case everywhere. It's people as well. So it gets back to people. And I do want to, artists and Henry, what you've done on your property with your urban farm and the training, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. It's people kind of taking initiative and doing great things to build community. So hopefully this will inspire this workshop. And just a few images. We've seen a lot today, including the farm I was just referring to, the mobile market downtown. We've seen the great redevelopment you've had in this area. And then we've seen a lot of assets. You've got a ton of really great buildings. There's so much opportunity here. You've got these tremendous buildings downtown. Many are underutilized. You've got a pretty compact city that's walkable. There's a lot here to build on. There's a lot of hope here and a lot of opportunity. And that, I say, is a theme of the tour that we were on earlier. I'm going to hand it off to Vlad here in just a sec, but just to set the stage for our last few slides, and then we're going to turn it over for discussion. We are currently sitting right in this area right here. This is an older area, so McGregor Theater's not there. We're in the library, there's the police station. And part of this whole workshop, again, is a design vision for what could happen over here on this property. And so I just wanted to set this context. There was some work already done around what could go over here that was sent over to us. We understand that these ideas are definitely very preliminary, and in fact, some of them are really not in the works anymore. So there is a potential here to shape the future. It's not set in stone, but one of the ideas was a stage, some kind of amphitheater for music with a farmer's market pavilion and maybe another pavilion for picnics and restrooms and storage. There's a lot that could happen here, and Vlad's going to share a few examples that he knows of to hopefully inspire.
Thanks, Mike. I'm going to talk instead of draw for a minute, but just to close with some ideas about what might work from a design standpoint when you're looking at this area from a helicopter or something like that, and compare it to other places that are working well, what this could be in the future. I want to start with Lynchburg, which Mike talked about, but there's some key features here. To me, this is one of the best examples of putting together a farmer's market, an event space, and a catalyst for downtown revitalization. So this is kind of the restored warehouse space that they turned into the indoor part of their farmer's market. This is a parking lot that a few years ago they converted into vendor stalls. This is an event space, like an amphitheater, that they created that pulls people off the street and gets them into kind of civic activities there. And this is a city that's had a lot of economic challenges through the area, a lot of kind of challenging demographics, and yet this is one of the catalysts for their whole downtown revitalization. There's now loft spaces in these old warehouse buildings, old tobacco town, that are being converted because of the catalyst potential of things like this. And it's interesting, this is over 200 years old. This farmer's market has been there since 1784, but they basically did a big overhaul in 2005 after some consultants came in and told them, you've got to create kind of an indoor component, you've got to convert your parking lot into vendor stalls. And so they've got a very good kind of business plan where they've got permanent shops on one side, they've got crafts kind of here, and then they've got the fresh food vendors, both indoors and outdoors. It becomes a four-season thing. They market it with branding, you know, Lynchburg is for locavores. And it's just kind of a community catalyst. So try to envision maybe something like there, anchored by the farmer's market. Another farmer's market that I think works well as an event space, Blacksburg, Virginia. So what they've got here is they've got the structure that supports the market stalls, solar, completely solar lighting and utilities there, but then they've also got this park space here, and they can use it for concerts, and people kind of gather on the lawn, and they've got the service area in the back. People park on the street, so this is mainly for the vendors. Another kind of good model. And this is a typical kind of a Saturday market space. People use that park, and it becomes kind of a civic amenity, whether the market's running or not. And then this one, last one, is kind of an interesting one because this is more a town green. This is more a holistic vision. So town of Herndon had basically, they had an old town hall up here on the main street, and they built a new kind of town office building, and then they built the library. And they had this backyard space which was hemmed in by rails to trail this former railroad and utility lines. And it was kind of their back door in their backyard. So they made sure that in the design of the town hall and the design of this open space, that became kind of a front door in addition to the street. And it opened into a new town green that became their kind of year-round event space. They have a very successful series of Friday Night Live sessions here. And then rather than put their farmer's market here, because it's still not, it doesn't have that relation to the street, their farmer's market is along Lynn Street here. The old kind of street in town. They block it off on market days. There's other ways to get around so they can block it off. And that becomes a real street kind of vendor space. But you can see from the pictures just how successful you can actually fit 1,000 or more people into that little triangular town green. And then there's a very successful marketing program, not only the town green, but they have carnivals and things. They're using all their parking lots, their streets, as public spaces. So one other kind of quick idea for using streets as public spaces is the idea of a shared street. Basically, you take the curbs down on the street and you just use decorative pavings to kind of make it much more a pedestrian space. Cars can still go there, but just in the design of the street, you turn that street into a public plaza rather than a place that cars zoom down. That could be a concept you could look at for Breckenridge or Chestnut or any of these streets here. And final point is what we're trying to do here is create a sense of place. Henderson has this enormous opportunity with an open space that could be the new town green. These are old postcards of old North Carolina towns, and they each have a sense of place. There's a monument or a green or something. Notice that it's always surrounded by shop fronts, by eyes in the street, by activity, and then it has some kind of memorable, iconic image in the center that makes you want to take a postcard and send it to your friends and really gives it a brand, a symbol, a kind of a visual image for the community.
Or take a photo and put it on Instagram.
Yeah, postcards are kind of thing of the past.
I actually was just in Denver. My wife had a conference there, and the new thing in cities is they're putting in these really kind of cool public art installations that people want to take a picture in front of. Like in downtown Denver, they have these angel wings, and you stand there and put your head, and you become an angel. And there must be a million pictures from there on Instagram. So anyway, so. That's it with presenting. I know that was a lot. I hope they'll kind of set the stage and gave you some ideas. What we're going to do is hear from you all now. That's what the last hour of our program is about. And I do have a kind of fun way to kick this off. This is an exercise called This I Believe. Now, even though I'm from Raleigh, I'm not an expert in Henderson. You all are the experts in Henderson. You all live here. It's your community. You work here. And so we want to hear what you value about this place, what you care about this place. And so we have two questions. We're just going to first answer the top one. And I basically just want you to finish the sentence. I believe downtown Henderson
can be beautiful.
Can be beautiful. But hold on one second. What I'd like you to do is, you're ready to go. I can tell.
I am.
You're excited.
I'm ready, buddy.
You're ready. All right. I like the energy. The energy's picking up here. So what I'd like you to do is, when you want to say something, when you're ready, stand up and say it, and then once we're all standing, we'll be done. So if you could remain standing after you say your thing. So why don't you go ahead and lead us off? You're ready to go.
You want me to lead you on?
Yeah. Go for it.
My name is Helen Grant Fields. I am a resident of Henderson, North Carolina, Vance County. I love where I live. I go on WICS every day. And my mantra is, I love where I live. Love where you live, or go live where you love. A lot of people don't like that mantra. But I will tell you that for a kid that grew up on the streets of New York City, I love where I live. Now, before there was Jenny on the block, there was Helen from the Bronx. And this kid from the Bronx loves my community, okay? Now, they don't know me. I don't even know the mayor. I just saw him. But I need to, praise the Lord for that. I do have the ability to speak, thank God, in public. But I wonder why Vance County, the city of Henderson, does not promote people people like myself that have worked for 30 and 40 years and have retired. I came in here with lots of money. I mean, I wasn't going to drain your community from funds. I was bringing funds to you. And I wonder, Mayor, with all due respect, why don't you guys get some kind of a campaign going to say, this is Henderson, North Carolina. I will tell you that if I had known all the problems that I was going to be faced with, I probably would have chose Henderson. But I love where I live.
Good.
So
So your completion of this sentence is, I believe downtown Henderson is great.
I love it.
All right, all
Love
right.
it. Okay, let me just finish. Okay, I'm gonna cut off.
Quickly finish, we gotta get on.
But here's one of the things that I see, that we have a train station over there, and I wonder, why don't they do something with that? I mean, make that like a craft place, or bring, do something with that building. It's beautiful over there.
Keep that thought, ma'am, keep that thought in
It's
your
an
mind.
office building.
Keep that thought in your mind, because we're gonna have several questions we're gonna get.
Before I close, I just want to say, to those of you who know the word prayer, pray for me.
All right. So, thank you. I'll go, and then we'll go around the room. I believe downtown Henderson has a ton of potential with all the buildings you have on the main street.
You can do the second one.
No, we're just doing the first one. Always tough to get that first person.
I believe downtown Henderson can be a destination.
Yes.
Summed it up.
Don't be shy. There's no bad ideas.
I believe downtown Henderson can learn to sustain life. And with that, I have to give an option.
I believe downtown Henderson is busier than what some people think it is.
I believe downtown Henderson can bring families together. I believe downtown Henderson has a lot of
I believe downtown Henderson is a safe place.
I believe Henderson is on the cusp of a renaissance. I'm from New York, I'm from the Bronx.
That's where I'm from.
So,
Go! Go, I'm gonna turn the afternoon. Where? Webster Avenue? I think you want everybody to stand, right?
Yeah. So I believe downtown Henderson is a great place to walk.
I believe downtown Henderson needs more places to eat.
I believe downtown Henderson has beautiful architecture.
Yes.
I believe downtown Henderson's building and architectural history needs to be known.
I believe downtown Henderson has many advocates, committees, workers, volunteers, that are gonna make it great again.
I believe downtown Henderson will be a great place to raise my kids.
I believe downtown Henderson has come a long ways with these new buildings and has a ways to go, but we can get there.
I believe downtown Henderson is a part of Vance County.
I believe downtown Henderson is the key to economic development in Vance County.
I believe downtown Henderson is a
downtown Henderson can be a hub and a symbol of a good life for all.
I believe downtown Henderson is on the cusp of something really, really great.
I believe downtown Henderson is like a painter's canvas, and on that canvas, we've already started painting, just need to add a little more ink and paint to that canvas, and we'll finish the
I believe downtown Henderson, like Marion said, we're just getting started with something great. Yeah.
Anyone else?
I believe downtown Henderson is a place of all past, of keep all
Anybody else want to go, or should we move on to the next one? All right, nice job. All right, so great ideas there. That was actually, I think, in all the times I've done that exercise, one of the best in terms of the how much thoughtfulness you all put into that. So thank you. I want to ask the second question, and then I have a few more kind of in-depth questions I'm going to have you do at your tables. But the second one is, I believe local foods in our community can. Just fill in the blank. Go ahead.
I believe local foods in our community can create better health situations.
I believe local foods in our community can make people proud of being advanced.
I believe local foods in our community can bring them to the hill.
I believe local foods in our community can become more accessible.
If you don't mind standing.
Can I say one thing?
Once we're done.
One thing.
Can you wait till the
I believe local foods in our community can keep my money generating something happening here in Henderson.
There you go. Very good.
I believe local foods in our community can help to overcome divides.
We local foods in our community can provide education for our youth. I believe local foods in our community can stimulate employment and investment in our community.
I believe local foods in our community can be a source of income for Vance County farmers.
I believe local foods in our community can help out underprivileged.
I believe local foods in our community can help us to know the community and know the people who surround the area in which we live.
I believe local foods in our community can derail processed foods.
I believe local foods in our community can make downtown restaurants be more successful.
I believe local foods in our community can provide healthier options for seniors.
I believe local foods in our community can be the start to a cultural renaissance.
I believe local foods in our community just taste better.
It's important. yourselves a round of applause. I heard the word Renaissance twice, each question. Is that because Renaissance Planning's here? Or I don't usually hear that word in our workshops. I like it though. So nice job. We heard a lot, and Melissa took very nice flip chart notes there. So I appreciate you sharing what you did. It gave us a quick sense of what you all care about and why this is important work. What I want to do now, though, is just drill a little deeper. And so in the remaining time, I have 3 questions for you. We may not be able to get through all 3, but the instructions are kind of important. So what I want you all to do is spend some time on each question just writing your thoughts down on the appropriate index card. We're going to color code these. And the reason we do this is we actually go home tonight to the hotel and we do read all of them and absorb them for tomorrow's workshop. So I promise you what you write will be read. But what I'm going to want you to do is spend about 3 to 5 minutes just writing down your thoughts on the index card. And then if you could go around your table and share with each other what you wrote. And then what I'm going to do after about 15 minutes is just ask each table to report out maybe the story that you all felt strongest about, or, well, I kind of gave away what one of the questions is. But anyway, maybe there's something that was written down you all felt really strongly about and you want to share with the whole group. Or maybe there was a common theme and you could report that out. So that's how we're going to do this. It's quiet writing, sharing, and then we'll do a report out. And this is a way to get a lot of ideas out there pretty efficiently. So, the first discussion question, you're going to use the green index card. And we're transitioning now, so we just talked about kind of high level, big picture. Why do you value downtown Henderson? What do you see as its potential? What do you see as the potential of food, healthy local food in your community? And now we're kind of connecting, drilling down into this specific place over here and how you could see it becoming an anchor really for the revitalization of downtown Henderson. And a place where people can get access to healthy food, where people can connect with one another, and it can really be a place that builds community. So the question is, it's 2027, so that's 10 years from now, and you're at the new Town Green. It doesn't have a name, we're just calling it that, because it's green, and it'll be a town civic space. So you're at the new Town Green right over here, and local foods are supporting downtown revitalization. And the questions I want you to answer are, why are you there, and what do you see around you? So what's brought you there? Maybe, why are you there? Maybe it's a concert, maybe it's the farmer's market, maybe it's something else. And what do you see around you? It could be people dancing to music, it could be a splash fountain children are playing in, it could be new businesses that are open along the street there and the vacant buildings. I just want you to use your imagination here and think about why you're in this space and what you see around you. So again, we'll spend about 5 minutes just kind of quietly write on your green card, and then you all can share at your table. Yeah, you can. Sure. When you all, when we stop writing, like you all can go to different tables, so we can just have 5 groups. I didn't know that. Oh, very good. Marion? Is it Marion? Oh, you are? Okay. Which is right. Oh, wow. Right. That's great. I wasn't aware. You're not the All right, so if you have not already started to share at your table, I'd like to transition to that now. So if you could just go around in a circle and everyone also probably introduce yourself, your name and affiliation if you have one, and then share what you wrote down, what your ideas are for the future of that space.
Everyone start?
Get it down to 5 rooms. You guys look like
If we just stay started. So this is what you're envisioning in 2027? Is a soccer? Okay, well, dream big, I guess. Well, we're not the week. Anyways, I am there because I'm there because people are celebrating good locally produced local food. And when I see around, I smile with things that I used to say. That's I work for Working Landscapes, we're a nonprofit. Alex is working landscape as well. We are Orange, so we are your neighbors. And friendly neighbors. So Working Landscapes is a non-profit organization that we operate a produce processing facility. We have elevator kitchens and some of these things that we're talking about today. So we think we should try to use those services to support the region. So we want to collaborate region which incubates multiple entrepreneurs. So it's a run, we incubate cafe, bakery fries, run by entrepreneur, not me, but it uses our facilities. And we have 4 other businesses that are using it. It's kind of like how you're supporting local businesses in one building, right? We do the same thing with food. In that we support jams and jelly, sauces, baked goods of various kinds, that kind of thing, in that macro. So I think in terms of 2027, what I'm seeing is why they're purchase local foods. Not only directly from farmers, but also entrepreneurs who've added value to the products and created something unique that I can purchase. And I'm also there to enjoy the musicians who are jamming on the square, because of course they're there jamming on the square. And I would like to see, this is a bit ambitious, I realize, but I would like to see a grocery market there, like an actual bricks and mortar, one of those buildings as a bricks and mortar vending opportunity for food, not just stalls that pop up once. We call it business. Yeah, those are good. Which sounds difficult, but also nice copies. It's not necessarily has that grocery extending out in front of it, so that there's a business that is anchoring the space, but it is also extending. There's some of the seating associated, people pick up food in that business, some of them are eating it downstairs and outside of outdoor dining spaces, rather than just into the space. And usually doesn't have to be a super formal thing, it can just be like people come and show up and jam, like that's really the best. That's the key, right? I mean, I don't think it's like if there's a place where I can just take them, they can run and interact with other kids and start playing. That's fantastic. I think there should be a playground as part of it.
Alright, in 5 minutes, we'll do a report out, okay? 5-minute warning, we'll do a report out each is have each group report out. And what I'd like you to do is one of two things. Either choose one card to share, one that you all really kind of love, and share it out with the whole group. Or if someone just wants to summarize some of the main points and themes your group hit on, that would be great too. I also want to recognize we do have a couple of city councilors here with us tonight. I'm sorry I didn't know that at the beginning of the meeting, but if you all can stand and introduce yourselves, that would be great.
Sarah Colby, City Council, City of Henderson, for 8 years now, and business owner here, ×2.
Great, thank you.
Hi, Marion Williams, City Council, Ward 1. Also an urban farmer with 2 greenhouses on the property as well.
All right, so why doesn't this group take the lead and report out first?
Get ready.
We're going to go this way. So
Okay.
if you could talk to the whole
Okay, yeah, we talked about a food truck. We talked about several things. Food truck radio's going down here on here at the pavilion. Sarah mentioned something about bringing the memorial, a veterans memorial, down here to set up permanently for the veterans. Having music. Having music like bluegrass bands, people of all ages can come in. And of course, you know, the vegetable gardeners, the road food trucks. They say it's a safe place for families and art exhibits.
So a lively, safe place, memorial, places for kids, food, farmer's market, food truck rodeo,
Yes.
cultural and art exhibits.
We are a Purple Heart city, and
Okay.
the veterans here, which are included in, we have talked about moving the memorials down here for the city, and the flag, we got our flag put up about 6-8 months ago for the Purple Heart, and we were talking about moving it down here so that people would come in this area and have little benches and we can see how veterans stuff. It's very important.
Very good. Thank you. Nice job. How about this group? Did you choose a reporter? Okay.
I was designated. So I think the center of our vision was just that this space out here was a really vibrant, active space, friendly to the community, both on for special events and festivals, but also just on a day-to-day basis. So it might be any day that you would see families out here. You would see musicians maybe just come together for an impromptu jam in the space, and people gather around to listen to that. So there might be a playground, there might be some family-friendly amenities, but at the anchor of it commercially would be an actual local food or healthy food store, retail environment that would be open all week long. Not necessarily just a pop-up situation, but an actual store. But this store, you would have the ability to buy local food or freshly prepared food inside, but then enjoy it outside on a kind of terrace area, which would connect the customers of the store to the entertainment and the social life that was happening in the square. Meanwhile, there would also be promotion in that environment for businesses that already exist along Garnet Street and our other commercial corridors. So it wouldn't be detracting, but actually adding to and providing another promotional opportunity for the vendors, for the businesses that are already established.
Okay, well, some of us are not from town. We have been drawn there by information that we either found on the internet or done some research and found out that Henderson has a viable historic downtown. So we've come off the highway and we've never been here before, so we don't know what we're doing here. But we find that there is local healthy food. About 4 of us specifically said healthy local food is part of what they would find. We might be here for shopping. I personally said I'd be here for people watching. You know, I live up in the sticks. There are no people up there, so I come down here to watch the people. And that's a good place to do it. And you're going to see families for sure. It's very family oriented. You're going to see kids and dogs. Maybe a frisbee. I don't know. They might not be allowed, but that's what you're going to see. It will. A big part of it will be food, but for sure action, music will be a part of it. I don't think we specifically said it. We thought we were coming down for maybe for a family picnic on a weekend because you've got some time off and you know it's clean and safe. Safe was also mentioned. But I think I can speak for our group that we really support what this table said about it. It needs to be all week long.
Yeah.
So
Every day.
that's did I forget anything on that? Pretty much.
That corner here.
Y'all help me out. We were there to eat at a restaurant that was nearby on an outdoor space, or we were there for Arts and Crafts Festival, or we were there for a concert kind of thing. Okay. So we had lots of reasons just for being here, and we may have just been here to the library and walked over, so we were already here doing something. And what we saw was fountain, a sculpture, an art sculpture of some kind. We saw vendors setting up with artwork and fresh vegetables. We saw outdoor planners. We saw families riding by on bikes. We saw music happening. What else? All ages.
All right, final group.
All right. Well, the only thing probably unique that hasn't been said is Henry came down to visit a bodega. Not to be confused with Bojangles. But we came, one of the common denominators for our table, we've come to be together. We want to be with neighbors. and we want to talk, we want to listen, and we want to sightsee. It's colorful, it's artistic, it's beautiful, it's enlivening, and depending on the season, you get good hot cup of coffee or something cold. That's necessary. And it's a place where you see people of all ages and of all socioeconomic strata connected by the place.
Yes. Good job.
You guys did a great job on that. I haven't seen such good energy and thoughtful replies as I'm getting here tonight, so this is awesome. We're going to keep going. I have 2 other questions, but we're running low on time, and I'm very thankful you're here tonight sharing, so I am going to be respectful of your time. I want to save the last 10 minutes for our binders to introduce some of their work they've done so far. So what we're going to do with these next 2 questions, I'm going to put them up at the same time, and we're not going to do a big report out. Instead, what I want you to do is just spend a few minutes writing on the red card answers to the question, what community assets do you think can help achieve this vision? And maybe it's the people, or maybe it's something else. But think about what assets do you have here, what strengths do you have here in Henderson that can help you achieve the things that were just said. And there are a lot of commonalities. And then the second one is, and this is blue card, what are the top obstacles to achieving this vision? It's not all rosy and perfect. We know there's challenges and obstacles, and we want to hear about those too. So spend a few minutes answering these questions. You can share with each other. We'll do a report out we'll do individual report outs in about 5 minutes. So if you all want to share for just a couple minutes with each other, we're going to spend the last 10 minutes on talking about the design. So go ahead, we'll spend a few minutes. You all can share with one another. You don't have to go around, but if people just want to share what's on their mind, and then maybe we'll hear from a few of you, and we'll talk about the design of this space. Thanks.
we're on the same place. When the sign said find the money, so 40, I'm gonna do. Yeah, I don't need that. We'll start with this part.
I got community assets, historic building,
Another asset is the 40,000. That's when I asked people Henderson is the largest area that they can go shop. Because I know like all the large unit would come to Henderson, you know. So, right. I mean Henderson has the stores. That's why sometimes the roads are so crowded in Henderson. Half the size of town that is, everything's closed. So that's there are farmers growing food in this area. I put that also as an obstacle because not that many are growing. But so it ranges from large. I mean, you got the largest pepper farms in the East Coast, Bailey Farms right there. That's the largest. And then there's small farmers who are too. So they're
Well, like, are you urban, like they're building it, you bring people to like say look at this building and see what's happening.
Yeah, we did. That stirred up some controversy more than we did that actually. People don't know.
All right, so I want to call a timeout again because we're down to 15 minutes. And I just want to see, does anyone want to share? Does anyone want to share what they wrote with the group for either one of these questions? Ron, would you like to share with the group?
We all want to hear from President Ron.
I was like, man, you draft me? Yeah, I was like, you know.
I think you have to, Ron.
We got to focus on what we have and what we do, and not on what we don't have. And we've got all this government structure down here. We've got this cultural foundation. We've got a great faith community. We've got a great medical community. We've got a great community college. We've got all this passion in this room, all this hope in this room. We have a great extension agency with a lot of ties to North Carolina State University and other people who can help us. Very attractive architecture. What's wrong with it? Well, I think around our table, consensus is the problem is the barrier of perception, fear of change, maybe fear of failure, maybe fear of success.
Yeah.
And we at this table think our city and county have to work.
This is an interesting, this has come up several times now, this city-county thing, and, it would strike me that investing in downtown Henderson is kind of a win-win for everyone. I mean, this is your economic center, your hub, and it is part of the county, unlike Virginia, where when you're in the city, you're not in the county, so, anyway, makes a lot of sense. Anybody else want to share?
Well, on that city county thing, it's just not that simple. Because most of the guys that are fighting themselves are backing the interests of the same little group of folk. So it's not even that. So let's stop playing games with that. And if we want to make downtown something, it's up to the people to make downtown something. And if we decide it's going to be something, it's going to be something. I'm familiar with it.
Well said.
Does anybody else want to share what they wrote? Yeah.
Just a couple things. You said there are 246 farms out there, so that's got to be an asset that will help make this happen. There's an available site apparently. I mean, I don't know if the city or the county said to take it and go, but it's right there, and we're not tear down buildings to make it happen, so it'll be a lot easier than if we had to do eminent domain and whatever else goes along with it. So that's
This is a city-owned property.
We have land accessibility there.
Yeah.
Oh, I mentioned, or we're talking about this, the downtown infrastructure, the footprint that we all have today in our walking tour. Gabe reiterated it, and somebody else said it, that, 8,000 people right around here. And with what they did in Warrenton, you said, what, 900?
Right, well, we struggle in Warren because the whole town is 900. We're Warren from Warren County. Right. But it's small. Y'all are a lot bigger, so you have to be able to work.
Where you live.
Go girl.
No, we do love it. It's just small. Yeah.
Anyone else?
I think one of the obstacles that we have is funding or grants to do what we need to do. Coming together, camaraderie of all agencies and not just one, but all coming together and compiling that information together so that I like what you said about the entities coming together and agreeing. And this one particular thing, we can all agree on what we like. So I like we talked about that. And volunteers to donate not only just their time and coming together. Once you get the people in the community to come together and see something for them, then I think that more people will volunteer if it's building a bench or providing what we need, or your master garden is coming together and bring something. So we're talking about that, and also the great planning staff, and how they can help us to help not only us, but help the city to understand and the county to understand what we're trying to do.
Yes, sir.
On the blue card, I just want to add one thing, and a similar issue in a lot of other places is that people are comfortable staying home and being distant, or people are comfortable going traveling distance to be comfortable. Like you have people from this area that want to try to Durham so they can be comfortable instead of going downtown in Henderson. It's the same thing. People in Richwell, we all meet in Roanoke Rapids. People, Warren County meet in Roanoke Rapids. Like, why are we meeting in Roanoke Rapids if we're from Warren County? Why can't we meet in Warren County?
Very good. So one last comment, and then we're going to talk about the design for a few minutes. But go ahead, yeah.
I don't know if it's an obstacle, it's just a question, and to be clear, I'm not unbiased on this question, but in a community this size, I think if we're talking about a second farmer's market, we need to look very carefully at the economic viability, sustainability, do we making sure that we have the population, the economic activity to support. Two farmers markets, and I like everything that's been said about, not out there to compete with each other and, maybe operating on different days and all that kind of stuff. So I just think that needs to continue being thought about.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Well, actually, I don't see that as being a problem because when they decided to put the farmer's market where they located it, you disenfranchised the whole world of people.
Bingo.
Anyway.
Bingo. Talk about it.
I mean, it's put something downtown and may the best vegetable win. they're perishable, and if you're not selling them, the issue will take care of itself.
Yeah. So I think we're gonna dive deep into this question tomorrow. Let's take one last comment on it here.
I think that, I hope this is a piece of reality. I live in the Cokesbury community outside of downtown Henderson. And I used to do taxes at Jackson Hewitt, and we didn't feel safe walking out of the office on Garnet Street just 5-10 years ago. So I would not have supported a farmer's market that I would have to drive onto Garnet Street to get to, because we walked each other to the door to leave the office. We never left the office alone. So downtown Garnet Street was not a safe place, and I think the choice of the farmer's market was viable at the time, that there weren't people coming to Garnet Street to buy vegetables 10 years ago, 5 years ago. That's weird. So don't throw stones at a farmer's market that has created the opportunity for us to get fresh fruits and vegetables. That wasn't available.
Last comment on this, really, because I want to respect your time, and we do have to get a little input on this.
One of your slides, you had Blacksburg, Virginia.
Yes.
That farmer's market up there. I drive to that place because I get to see and meet the local people who grow my food.
There you go.
So the viability of the sustainability of this farmer's market can be a whole lot huger. You just got to get the exposure out there. You market yourself. If you're the community, market yourself. Those people, I mean, I'm on a website. Talk about fresh Angus beef and fresh vegetables. I went up there for the beef. I came back with a truckload. You see what I mean? So it'll sustain itself. So don't let the short population hurt us.
Well, just like there's grocery stores and convenience stores, and oftentimes multiple grocery stores in a community, there can be different markets that have different purposes and different sizes. And we're going to dive into this a lot tomorrow, I promise. I don't want to shut this down because I can tell it's very important. But in the interest of time, I want to talk about the site just a little more. Vlad and Ron are going to talk. So what we're going to do is actually everybody's going to get up. And before we do that, I just want to, because I think people will probably leave after this, I just want to thank you all for coming tonight. This has been really energetic. I got a toddler at home with my perpetual bachelor brother right now, babysitting because my wife's out of town too. So I've been nervous, low energy all day, and you guys really picked me up, so thank you. We're going to be back here tomorrow at 10:15. I hope many of you can join us. We're going to continue the discussion. By the end of the day, we're going to really have in place a framework to start moving towards the things you talked about with that green question, things you want to see happen here in downtown Henderson. So with that said, Vlad, Ron, you guys take it away. I think you're going to want people to come up.
Yeah, and feel free if you need to leave, just go ahead, but we're going to spend maybe 5-10 minutes talking about these drawings and the site itself. So if you could stretch your legs and come over here where you can see them.
All right. Is it the first part of this project? Oh, no, you missed it. Yeah, you got to come this way. Come over here. Yeah, I know it was wild.
Hey guys, if I could get your attention, Vlad's he's just got a few remarks to make, and then we'll close the table.
So this is really helpful hearing your ideas, your vision for farmers market and I just wanted to, we're focused on the what goes in this area in addition to the farmers market and how to make the farmers market work. And one thing that I would just advise or throw out to you from our experience in other communities is farmers markets can be very flexible types of uses. They can adapt to different types of settings. What you want to do is design for the very long term, particularly when you're doing this big master planning process. So think about this as kind of what is the future town green. Farmers market will be a part of that, but there's going to be a lot more than just a farmers market there. And at the risk of overkill, we kind of see this as a design exercise for
something more than a farmer's market that is really the heart of the community. So just to share with you kind of where we are and what the design challenge is here. We're sitting right here at the library. When you look out the window, you're looking out here at this open space. Police department building is right here. So there was a plan for kind of extending that visual access of the police department into a new civic building, which you see out here. This is just one idea that was put together a while back just to show you some context of what's been thought about for the area. This is the existing police department. So the idea was maybe a new civic building right across that plaza, maybe a pavilion that is an event space over here at the corner of Montgomery and Chestnut. And as that hill kind of slopes up, maybe have that as a seating area. Kind of bookending it with farmers market and some other service uses, maybe restrooms or something. And then there's a lot of question marks about what goes here. You know, mixed use building, can't read that about my glasses.
Yeah, so if you have a chance to come by, you'll see a lot of uses in here, and like what I said, there's a lot of question marks already. So it was very similar to what we were doing tonight, coming up with ideas of what you really want to see in that space. So some of your ideas really did reflect a lot of what was already, a lot of previous ideas. So that was really good to hear. Now what our job is kind of meld those all together and find a place for them on the site. Not necessarily in this arrangement, but something that would really help you in the future.
Exactly. And keep in mind, that's farmer's market on this idea. So there's a whole lot more that can go in here. Probably should.
Yeah, we talked about the city hall, was that right there?
This was the idea for the city hall or municipal buildings. So kind of face the police department. And so then over here, we're just starting to put some of our ideas down as an analysis of this site. And this is what we're going to reflect tomorrow in this design contest. But this again is the site, police department, libraries. We notice that there's this axial relationship. There's the two entrances, the police department and the library. If you shoot a straight arrow out there, they meet in this very nice plaza here, sitting area there. So clearly there was a thought to extend that one axis out to the new city hall here. But what happens to that other axis? And when you kind of cross over into this grass area, this is a really high ground on that site, which has magnificent kind of panoramic views out to the whole area. You can see the various church steeples in the city. And then there's some fairly steep slopes. It slopes down. And then this is kind of the corner of Montgomery and Chestnut here. And that's another possible location for farmers market or kind of an event space. One of the observations, though, is that there's some traffic noise there, so that would need to be buffered. And, you know, this is kind of a natural amphitheater, if you think about it, and I think that's why that plan had it over here, where you could envision people sitting on this grassy slope, listening to music here. But another possibility, really, is, you know, that there's some kind of big event space over here at the crown of the hill, and people sitting over here facing it. And then the other things we noticed are kind of the red lines are walkable street frontages. The brown lines are, you know, blank street frontages, basically blank walls. So Breckenridge has kind of at the library side some real kind of walkable street frontages, and of course this open space here. But then there's a fair amount of blank walls to get you to Garnett. Same thing with Montgomery here. There's some walkable street frontages here and some blank walls there. And the challenge is going to be, how do you get people from Garnett to the Newtown Green, and which of these two streets do you put your money in? You know, do you continue what's happening with Breckenridge, or do you try to build some walkability along Montgomery? So Ron, any other observations?
No, I think you pretty much said a lot of what's there. I mean, what's really great about this space is it's a blank canvas. There's nothing there now. So we usually run into places where there's a building there that needs to be torn down, or there's other issues that something was there in the past that you have to deal with a brownfield site. This is really a blank slate, so that's a really fantastic place to be, especially in the design phase, because, anything is really possible.
Two things. The parking lot is gonna be displaced. So with the 1,000-seat arena, that parking is gonna be a problem. So where do you think parking could be?
So parking is going to be in one of the aspects of what we're going to be looking at for our design features. So that will be addressed.
Okay. Where's the farmer's market?
This is an analysis drawing, so this kind of says our observations. We have not done any design work. That's for tomorrow. So we don't know. We're saying, should it be down on this side, the low part of the site? Should it be up here on the high part of the site? We're not doing any preconceptions about it.
So this over here was their previous ideas of where things were located. That's not necessarily where they'll end up. This was just kind of a starting point to get a conversation going. So we'll work on a few ideas tomorrow.
You gotta give us time. Be up all night.
When you say previous, was that from, before you guys got here?
Yes.
Several years ago, or?
Does anybody know when this is?
Recent.
Yeah, that was something the city when, they were thinking, the striped pieces were added when we were sort of getting into talk about them. They were sort of added to that recently, within the last few months.
So we might come up with a couple of ideas and then get whoever's here tomorrow to weigh in on them. And by the afternoon, we're going to have one site plan that is, maybe a 20-year vision for this area.
Just a final reminder, if you did not leave an email on the sign-in sheet, please do so.
So before we close, I think the mayor has an announcement regarding water.
Yes, it's official, that it's safe to drink the water, use the water. A boil advisory remains in effect, but I can tell you, I brushed my teeth. Everything's fine, and we're pumping at full capacity. So it's a computer glitch that caused the power to shut down on pumps, but everything is working and back in the high alert again.
What about that bacteria that was in the water?
Oh, it is.
So I just want to close the meeting because we're a few minutes over. I want to respect your time. Thank you so much for coming out, your energy, your ideas. We're going to continue work on these concepts tomorrow and additional planning around not just this site, but also in general, using food to build community and bring vitality and energy in downtown Henderson. So that will get started tomorrow at 10:15. I hope many of you can join us. But otherwise, we're done tonight. We'll see you, a lot of you tomorrow.